Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today we have a controversial video to go over. There's no way around it. It's a very controversial topic because Battlefield 6 has been blowing up like crazy. The hype for this game is unlike anything that has come out recently, and even here in the Call of Duty space, players are excited to give the game a try. So many people are turning their backs on the COD franchise, and so far, the devs over at Battlefield Studios have checked all the boxes. We have the open beta coming out in just a couple of days. They revealed the game, they revealed the multiplayer, they had countless Call of Duty pros and YouTubers at the reveal event. The game looks fast, it looks polished, it looks grounded, and the devs have even come out and made fun of Call of Duty for all the stupid skins they have in their game and all the crossovers they do, right? It's been really good. I think it's fair to say that Battlefield has been on a gravy train with freaking biscuit wheels as of late, man. They are flying high, but then some news came out today, which is just kind of like taking the wind out of a lot of people's sails. What is the biggest cardinal sin in online multiplayer games these days? Is it the cheating situation? Is it the shop bundles? Is it adding skins that don't fit the theme of the game? While all that stuff is frustrating, so long as the core game is fun and enjoyable, a lot of us can turn a blind eye to some of those shortcomings, but it all boils down to four simple letters: SBMM. Skill-based matchmaking has plagued games like Call of Duty and even other franchises for years now. It honestly just ruins the game for a lot of people, and today, unfortunately, we have learned that skill-based matchmaking will be within Battlefield 6. Now, before we get too far into the video, I want to say that I'm going to do my best to be objective about this, as objective as I can anyway, considering how much I hate skill-based matchmaking, but given the nature of Battlefield, I'm actually curious how a system like that might even work, and whether or not it's going to be as impactful in that game as compared to a game like COD. We have a lot to go over here today, and I want you guys to listen to the entire video before jumping to too many conclusions, because how they're handling this is really weird, but also kind of interesting. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and jump on into it. So here we can see from CharlieIntel, who was actually at the reveal event for Battlefield 6, EA says Battlefield 6 matchmaking will focus on ping, player location, server availability, and some skill factor. It's interesting the skill is there at the very bottom. The matchmaking factors will vary based on each game mode and player counts, and then from there, CharlieIntel linked an article from Dexerto, which is the company that they're partnered with. Now, I'm going to be upfront with you guys right here, right from the very beginning. I don't like this article. It's written by somebody named Carver Fisher, and the way they try to downplay the impact of skill-based matchmaking is both disingenuous and underhanded. So here we can read, as confirmed during a press briefing at the Battlefield 6 premiere, the latest entry in the series will have some amount of skill-based matchmaking. Additionally, you won't be able to use the server browser to get around it. From there we see skill-based matchmaking is a hot topic in certain sections of the gaming community. For most genres of competitive gaming, it's not a huge deal. The vast majority of online games have some sort of algorithm to get players matched against somebody in their skill bracket. I'm gonna stop right there. Like, not a big deal whatsoever. Like, what reality is this person living in? Does this person even play online video games? But regardless, here we can finally see, when it comes to Call of Duty though, skill-based matchmaking is something a pretty vocal section of players do not like. Finding a lobby where you can farm kill streaks is something a section of the community wants, although it's often at the expense of everyone else in the lobby having a bad time. On top of this, Battlefield 6 will also be ditching the traditional server browser that's been long present in the series and will be putting everyone through matchmaking. So I'm going to stop it right there. That is why I hate this article so much, because they tried to boil down the entire argument against skill-based matchmaking to basically just players want to farm kill streaks and now it's harder to do so. Like, honestly, just fuck this person, right? I mean, they're part of the reason why skill-based matchmaking is still around and why more people are not fighting against it. Just look at the gameplay here within Call of Duty World War II. There's obviously no skill-based matchmaking here. I recorded this just the other day, and yeah, I'm running through some average to mostly below average players, but that is not the reason why I'm against skill-based matchmaking and why any other sane person in the world is also against the entire idea. Do we really need to go over all the negatives of the system? We have longer queue times, laggy matches, you can't play with your friends or family if you're too good at the game. We have disbanding lobbies, we have a lack of gameplay variety, we have shifting goalposts, we have 10 plus different versions of the freaking game all being played by different people. There's no sense of progression or getting better. Challenges are harder for some and easier for others depending on what lobbies they get into. You are punished for playing the game. Like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. No casual experience even in casual modes. Is that the whole point of a casual mode? And as a result of that, ranked play feels pretty pointless because I'm facing iridescent people anytime I try to play Black Ops 6. And the thing about all of these is most of these things here are just umbrella terms for the most part. Like, aspects like lack of gameplay variety, right? That one single bullet point there can be broken down into like 10 different topics. Because of the lack of gameplay variety, variety. People are only using meta weapons. You're not able to use off-meta stuff whatsoever. Everybody basically plays the same way, therefore you have no variety in gameplay style. Everyone's rushing and butt sliding with a Jackal or an Amos. Kill streaks are completely useless in my lobbies, and they have been for over 5 years now if you're in the higher skill brackets. Challenges are infinitely more difficult and infinitely more frustrating. The list goes on and on, man. Going back to the idea of longer queue times, you are waiting longer to get into a worse match with a worse connection thanks to skill-based matchmaking. Like, the entire system as a whole is a plague, a cancer on gaming, and to boil it down to, well, fans just want to farm kill streaks but they can't, is some of the stupidest shit I have ever heard. But regardless, let's dive a little bit deeper as to why Battlefield is doing this. So like we just learned, one of the biggest changes for Battlefield 6 this year is a complete lack of a proper server browser. In years past, fans could open up a server browser and find lobbies based on the map, based on the game mode, based on player count, connection, or any other number of factors. Battlefield 6, for some reason, won't have this feature and instead is going to be going forward with a standard matchmaking system. I feel like there are two ways of interpreting this. Number A, they want the system to be more streamlined, right? Maybe they think that more casual players are going to be intimidated by the idea of a server browser, even though it's really not that hard to figure out, but I think that's definitely a possibility, right? If they streamline the entire system, they get people into matches faster, and so long as connection and server space are prioritized, it really just should be fine. But number B, however, I feel like if they had the server browser, there would be no skill-based matchmaking whatsoever, because fans could just pick the server that they play on. By not having a server browser, they can implement something like skill-based matchmaking, and perhaps, just perhaps, maybe they look at games like COD, maybe other games like Apex Legends, even Fortnite, and think to themselves, hey, we have to protect our low skill players as well. And maybe that's the reason why they took the axe to the server browser and went with a standard matchmaking system. Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I want to make this clear for everybody. I don't want anyone to get this twisted. I am thoroughly against the idea of skill-based matchmaking. I think I've done at least 2 videos on it in the past, maybe 3, I don't remember. But I am also an advocate for a protected bracket for certain kinds of people. Let's face it, we are old. A lot of us are getting pretty freaking old. A lot of us have kids, a lot of us have nieces, nephews, family members, or whatever that play video games and are young. And sure, I think those people should be protected. A 9-year-old should not be thrown into Scumpy's lobby. I get that, right? Or maybe people who have certain handicaps or disabilities. Let me go on record as saying I am all for that bottom of the bottom bracket for skill of players being protected, right? At that point, it's more of an accessibility argument as compared to a morality one or an ethical one. If they want to protect those players, then fine by me, so long as it's not like what Call of Duty does, where they literally have 10 separate skill brackets, all of which are so tightly tuned that you feel like you're stuck in frickin' Bobby Kotick's Epstein playground. If we look at the history of skill being used in video games, it's pretty much always been there, right? Even dating back to games like Call of Duty 4. Now, some naysayers will claim that COD 4 had skill-based matchmaking the same way we have it here in Black Ops 6, which is just complete bullshit, man. If you look at what we have in Black Ops 6 versus what we used to have back in the day, Call of Duty 4, World at War, OG Modern Warfare 2, or Black Ops 1, they are night and day different. They are completely different. What they essentially did back then was they had a protected system in place for newer players, sort of like a boot camp for new accounts. I'm sure some of you guys remember. I know we used to do this. Remember back in the day, if you played on Xbox, if you bought a new game, sometimes you would open up the case. They got rid of the user manual. That went away a long time ago, but you would occasionally find a card for like 2 weeks of Xbox Live or something like that. I used to make so many different accounts on Call of Duty 4 and World at War just to see how high I could get my KD to be, and you would notice, like, as soon as you got on that new account, you would get into a lobby and you would only be facing other low-level players. So there's definitely some form of like protected bracket even in the older games for brand new players, right? Or if you had a friend who wasn't very good at the game and you made them host, oftentimes your lobbies would be slightly easier. There was some form of like a protected bracket back in the day. Again, nothing like what we have nowadays with games like Black Ops 6 or pretty much anything from Modern Warfare 2019 onwards, but the point still remains. Those older games did at the very least have some form of skill being considered within their matchmaking, and I'm hoping that Battlefield is doing a similar thing where skill, while it is being weighed, it's barely being weighed whatsoever, and everything else takes a much higher priority. I think the ultimate deciding factor here for players is how exactly will skill be implemented into Battlefield 6. I find it strange that the devs, outside of one of them, haven't really been talking about it whatsoever, because it would obviously be a huge selling point and add even more coal into the furnace of the hype train, man. Like, if they start talking about the lack of skill-based matchmaking in their game, it would go insane. Like, the hype would like double pretty much. It would be freaking crazy. So I don't know if it was a legal thing. Like, if it's a legal thing where they had to mention that skill in some form is being weighed in matchmaking, matchmaking, then that's fine. It just depends on how heavily it's being weighed. All of the Golden Era COD games took some form of skill into account, but it was pretty much the final factor on a long list of much more important things. Factors like ping, time to match, connection quality, server fullness, all the things basically that Activision tried blowing smoke up our ass about in regards to the newer games. Yeah, the old games actually weighed all those things, and skill was like the tiniest factor in the algorithm for games like Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3. Basically, all the Golden Era COD titles that everybody loved and enjoyed, skill was barely a factor, if it was even a factor whatsoever. I do find it strange that they decided to get rid of the server browser in favor of normal matchmaking for Battlefield 6, because they did say that the portal maps, which you guys don't know, these are like fan-created maps that you can play. There's gonna be a server browser for that, and you can go in there and you can play these fan creations while still getting full XP and full progression for your character. That's pretty cool, right? But that's gonna be the only form of a server browser within the game, with every other mode having a matchmaking button. I'm also curious how they could implement something like skill-based matchmaking into a game like Battlefield. In COD, it's pretty simple. It's 6v6, sometimes even smaller than that. It's really easy to implement skill-based matchmaking with that low of a player pool. But in Battlefield, in the traditional game modes anyway, like Rush and Conquest, we're talking about 32 on 32 player matches, sometimes even 64 on 64. It really seems like having fixed skill-based matchmaking in a game on those game modes would be nearly impossible without having like 10-minute long queue times. You then think about something like Team Deathmatch, Domination, and Squad Deathmatch, however, and those games could be a lot more easily exploited by a matchmaking algorithm. In those game modes, we're talking about, you know, maybe 10 on 10, 12v12, 16 on 16 at the highest point, right? So still much bigger than Call of Duty, and historically, Call of Duty is forced to loosen skill-based matchmaking in game modes that have higher player counts, so I really don't know. Like, I'm sure you guys have noticed that. If you're playing COD and you're playing like the Modern Warfare style ground war, which was what, 32 on 32? I really don't remember. I didn't play much of it, but skill-based matchmaking wasn't nearly as big of a factor in that game mode as compared to, like, you know, search and destroy or regular domination, right? And the same thing is true if you jump into 10v10. Typically 10v10 is a lot looser because there's 20 people in there as compared to 12. It's harder to make the matchmaking algorithm work that way, you know. It seems like the more people are in the lobby, the looser skill-based matchmaking gets. So I'm hoping that with Battlefield, it's not really going to be a noticeable factor, but we do have this developer right here, and I hope I get her name right, Alexia Christofi. I'm pretty close at the very least on that. She's a producer for Battlefield, and she was asking fans on Twitter exactly why they want a server browser, which to me is like, what? I think the answer is pretty freaking obvious, but she found that fans like server browsers because of persistent servers, a sense of community, and a way to play together, being able to choose specific maps and game modes, being able to filter ping and server fullness, and then having support for low populated regions. All of those reasons are great. All those reasons are completely valid, but Alexia claims that she thinks that what they have put together with their matchmaking system is going to cater to the majority of these use cases, and she's going to talk more about it at a later date. I don't know, something about that just doesn't sit right with me. Like, as hyped as I am for Battlefield 6, believe me, I'm freaking hyped for this game, I find her comments kind of strange, and I also just wish that somebody that's working on Battlefield would come out and say, yeah, skill isn't really a big factor in our matchmaking whatsoever, you're barely going to notice it, and our top priority is fast matchmaking, full servers, and low ping numbers. It would be so simple for somebody just to come out and say that, but so far, we're kind of being left in the dark here, and that's not a good feeling, man, because that was exactly what Call of Duty ended up doing, and look at how that turned out. So a number of fans are now concerned about Battlefield 6, and justifiably so. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what are we thinking here? Is skill-based matchmaking going to destroy Battlefield 6, or will skill not be as heavily weighed as it is in a game like Call of Duty, given the huge player numbers in each of the Battlefield game modes? I'm honestly curious to hear what you guys think, and I feel like unless a developer comes out and addresses the situation, we're just going to have to wait for the open beta to finally get our answers. Now, I will say, and I want to call this right now, the Battlefield 6 beta will be sweaty. Like, I did see people saying that the reveal event of the game looked incredibly sweaty, and I was like, well, no shit, man. I mean, it's the reveal event. It's literally just all YouTubers and pro players with some, like, IGN game journalists being thrown in there. Like, of course it was going to be sweaty, and I do feel like the beta is going to be more relaxed than what we saw at the reveal event, but it's still a beta, and we all know that the only people who play multiplayer betas are people who are really into gaming, and therefore they are going to be better than your average Joe. All I know is this Joe, my name's Joe, by the way, will be playing the open beta and keeping you guys up to date with everything that's going on with Battlefield 6. I just really hope they don't mess this up, man. Like, EA, we are begging you. We are pleading to you. Please do not mess this up. We need Battlefield to be good. The games industry as a whole needs the game to be good. And believe it or not, even if you have no interest in Battlefield whatsoever, if you're just like a diehard Call of Duty fan, that's all you care about, you also need Battlefield to be good. Otherwise, Call of Duty is going to fall off a cliff and die entirely, because we've seen what happens when Activision is left to their own devices. They need competition. The games industry as a whole needs competition. We have so much riding on Battlefield 6, and to be honest, the game does look really freaking good. I have not been this excited for a game in years, probably since X-Defiant, and then before X-Defiant, I can't even tell you the last time I was excited, man. Like, gaming has sucked for a long time, and Battlefield's supposed to come out and fix that, goddammit. So hopefully something ends up happening. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I will keep you guys posted as we learn more and as these stories develop, and as we continue to hope that this game does not blow up in our faces. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video here today. Leave your thoughts and feedback down there in the comments. Be sure to sub if you're new around here. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.